It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Home Bargains. It's an actual Home Bargains brewed beer. It's their MicroBrew British Craft Beer Selection range of beers. And this is their Cheeky Choko Creamy Chocolate Vanilla Flavour Stout at 4.8% ABV in a 440 milliliter can. Bought this last week. It was £1 something. It was an impulsive purchase. Home Bargains are very good at that impulsive purchase. You look at the product, you see the price, you think that'll do. So much so that if it was stupidly cheap, you would remember the price. But if it was stupidly expensive, you would also remember the price. But they price things there that you go, yeah, that'll do. And you pick it up and then you forget the price. But it's not anywhere near the cheap extreme or the expensive extreme. Does that make sense? Without further ado then, let's get this beer out. Into a glass and see what we get. I've had mixed fortunes with these MicroBrew British Craft Beer Selection range of beers. Home Bargains, it's a funny place really, because they don't really, like, they specialise in buying bankrupt stock. They specialise in buying, they'll spot a bargain and they'll buy the whole bulk of it and they'll roll it out through their stores. They specialise in that. They don't really specialise in producing their own brand stuff, unless this is a thing that's going forward. So it's funny then that they should have their own brand of beers. But, I mean, somebody at Home Bargains must be passionate about beer enough for them to have their own brand. Or they see an opportunity to make lots of money. Either or, isn't it? We had a one finger tan coloured head. I was watching it. It has dissipated a little bit. There's little bits of sediment in the bottom of the glass. That means it was a canned condition. My poor perfect draft. I covered it in hot sauce last week. Now I've just covered it in chocolate beer. Yeah, rolling the beer around in the glass. Yeah, it looks lovely, doesn't it? It really does. In terms of stout, I'd probably say it looks like a dark mild. It's almost a very, very, very dark red rather than a pitch black stout. Aroma on the beer then. That smells okay. Lots of vanilla. Lots of what I would call synthetic hot chocolate aromas. It's a bit like opening a jar of powdered hot chocolate powder tub and getting your nose in it. You know, you can smell the, as you've opened it, it might have a little cloud of chocolate dust, and you get your nose in it and you're like, it's a lovely kind of fragrance, isn't it? Chocolate. But this has chocolate and vanilla. Fair play to the aroma on this beer. It's rather nice. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. it's okay. It's okay. You get a nice lick of chocolate. You get a nice lick of vanilla. If I was being greedy, because let's face it, this is a bargain stout. This, you can taste it. You can taste that they fought really hard with what they can put into this beer, but ultimately sell it for that really cheap price point. They've squeezed, you can taste it, they've squeezed the margins to like the most finely razor cut profit margin, if that makes sense to anybody who knows business. In an ideal world, but let's face it, none of us are in an ideal world at the moment, are we? I mean, gas prices are going up through the roof. Everything's going up in price. I'm not here to complain. It's not one of those channels where we stand here moaning about stuff. But we are going through a cost of living crisis. And even maybe, I was about to say, even if they put the price of a can up by 20 pence, and then the brewer involved in brewing this beer was able to add a ton of oats to the beer and made it really creamy and rich and velvety, that would go really well with that chocolate and vanilla. But we're not living in that world, are we? We're not living in that world where you want to pay that extra 20 pence for this can of beer. We're living in a world where, at the moment anyway, certainly, dare I say it, I go to Home Bargains a lot. I like the bargain stores, I always have. But if you're shopping in Home Bargains, then you're probably looking at your budget without being controversial about it. So you're looking at your pennies. I mean, if it goes up by 20 pence and it's really oaty and it's got a terrific mouthfeel, then maybe you would buy it again and again. But then again, maybe that's what maybe you don't want that from your stout. Maybe you want your stout refreshing, like this is. What we call a dry Irish stout in the industry is a very thin tasting, thin mouthfeel stout. Perhaps this is a dry Irish stout with lots of vanilla and chocolate. It's okay. It really is okay. I'm talking about my own kind of personal preference. I like rich, creamy stouts. But the positives for this beer, it's nicely carbonated. There's a touch of coffee. There's lots of vanilla. There's lots of chocolate. What would that 20 pence do if they raised it by 20 pence and added a ton of oats? Well, or maybe some more roasted malt. So it would give, so what it would offer if it was 20 pence more a can is more of a rich, creamy, velvety mouthfeel. You then get the vanilla and the chocolate. If they've added more roasted malt to the beer as well, you get a little bit of licorice and then some chocolate, coffee, caramel, roasty, toasty, bitter flavours. And then that would probably be the ultimate beer. That would probably be the ultimate Choko, cheeky Choko stout. So maybe this is just a suggestion to Home Bargains then, and the brewer who brewed this beer. Perhaps for Christmas, you do a deluxe edition. Perhaps you do a deluxe edition of the cheeky Choko vanilla chocolate stout, where it sits next to this on the shelf, but it's 20 pence more, and you've added a load of oat to the beer and a load of roasted malt to the beer. So you get that kind of real luxury feel to the beer. That's my small 2 pence worth that I'm giving to this company. A lot of you might like this beer. A lot of you might like it. It's not a beer that I want to throw down the drain. It's certainly a beer that I'll finish. And I can understand why a lot of people will probably like this beer. But I think this beer is good enough. It's good enough for a deluxe edition of this beer. 20 pence more a can, but with oats and lots more roasted malt. That's okay, that. It really is okay. For the money, it's a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers!